Yes. Welcome back. This is A RAP CRITIC. I'm your boy Malik 16. And no, we're not ready for an evil paradise. No time soon. We're just gonna party over time in the meantime. And still here with my special guest. Got the man back in the building. I'm gonna let him introduce himself once again. Who you be?
I'm still ill.
Ah!
Same old, you know.
That's ILL Lil for those who don't know, or if you didn't catch episode 1. Suggest you probably go watch that before you dip into this one, or you can watch it in any order you want. Feel free. While you at it, go check in on the raprouleur.com to cast your votes on this album or any other album that you see on the site. And while you at it, like and subscribe to the channel. We are still going over one of our favorite albums, the classic Art of War by Bone Thugs and Harmony. And like we do when we do all double CDs, all double albums, we're focusing on one side. This happens to be the World War II side. Shout out to everybody that was on the check-in on the video 1, especially Mr. Capone Bone from the Mo Thugs family. He hit us with some facts, and hope you check this one out too. With no further ado, we're gonna jump into it. This is category 2, where we go over the rap performance on this album. And you know that's a big challenge to analyze the rap performance of any Bone Thugs album, but if anyone was up to the challenge, it's us, being 2 big Bone Thugs fans. Shout out to the whole Bone Thug fan community out there, because I know a lot of y'all go harder than we do. A lot of y'all stuck around on the journey throughout the years, and I skipped a few, so shout out to y'all. With no further ado, let's jump into the first dimension of category 1, personality and charisma. Now we got 5 personalities present on this album. This category is all about how those personalities are presented. And so I will just jump in there and point out that Wish has a very distinct personality from everybody else. And Lil, who did you compare Wish to?
I felt like Bernie Mac when he came to the Apollo that one time, that first time. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He's like, he ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Simple, and it comes off clearly. He's not shy about it.
He's not, and he'll break the flow. He'll sacrifice the melodic patterns to just talk to you on record. So that's his easy way of letting you know his personality. One of my favorite examples is on Hatin' Nation. And this used to be a song that Lil used to pull my ear to back in high school. Like, yo, listen to this when he's like when you, what did he say?
he like shit. He said, I put the beam on you motherfuckers. Was it that shit?
That, and
you know what I mean? And the Hate Nation joint was the one he talking about, nigga, take your girl out on you, you know, just hating on some hating shit. You know what I'm saying? He just
Then he starts preaching at the end, right? He's like, if you spend more time
watching your own shit, the player hate mine, you might do something, motherfucker. Yeah, he funny, you know what I'm saying? You say he sacrificed whatever you called it. He may have, but at the same time, it's art, so he added his dash of color into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his way. That I was pointing it out because I feel like that's his way of showing his personality, and it's the most clear-cut way. There's like, you don't have to really think about it. It's like, oh, you know Wish's personality from him breaking the pattern to just talk to you, or the way he's gonna drag out a thing. He's like, you know, you dead wrong. Whoa. You know, he'll do those kind of things. Whereas the other dynamic personality in the group, Busy, he's gonna do that in 2 ways. He's gonna do that through talking too. His talking is more subtle and in between. You're not gonna see him really breaking the middle of the flow to talk, except for on his breakaway track, Seven Sign. And in the middle, you know, he'll say he'll go on his little rant. He's like, I just want to let you know right now, I give about any gift you know, like,
especially you Corvy ass motherfuckers. I don't even know what I didn't even know what that shit meant, but I said it all the time.
I got no idea. If anybody knows in the comments, leave it down there, let us know. Again, shout out to the Bone fans that go harder than us. And little things like the beginning of Whom Da They Lie was like, guess it's East 1999 time again. Busy gives you his personality through talking like Wish does, and he's animated, and you know, there's a sense of humor in there, but he also does it in the lines he delivers and the way he delivers it. Even when I'm talented, when not that, you can see what's deep in my eyes. Like, he's adding that, and you're not gonna get that from Flesh or Lazy, you know. So it's with them, it's more recitation.
Busy rapping swing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know how like a drummer puts swing on a beat, his own little to it. You know what I mean? That's how Busy. Yeah, that's what I think.
On that same track, you know, he makes choices like even the way he ends his very first verse before Majesty comes in. He's like, nothing getting ready and blow. You know, like those are the things that separate the Bone members. And for the uninitiated, you know, I remember when they first came out, they all just seemed like one cluster of singing fast rappers. And then for the fans that got to know them, just like any fans of any group, they're able to tell you who's who and why who's who. But with those two, they were always the easiest to figure out. People, when you think about a song like The Crossroads, the part that people gravitate towards is the and I miss my Uncle Charles, because those are the hooky, personality-laden parts. Those would be the first two that pop in mind out the gate. It's a little harder to peg. I mentioned Lazy and Flesh's personalities because it's more gonna be from what they're saying on the mic, not how they're saying it or talking, because they don't really talk to you on this side of the album. You're not really getting Lazy saying anything as far as talking. Crazy kind of falls in that basket too. Crazy makes a lot of creative choices, and we're going to talk about all their creative choices as we go into other dimensions. But I don't know what I would say as far as personality for Crazy. You got anything for that?
I think it comes off in the type of music that he makes. The fact that on this album, he made hardcore rap, and then he made orchestral music, gangster orchestral music. So and I think that showcased his personality actually a lot, because he calls himself, he said a lot. He's humble and ready to rumble, quiet but ready to riot. So he's that laid back nigga with the shotgun in his coat, and he ain't even gonna pull it out the coat. He's gonna shoot through the coat.
That's a hell of a picture. That's a hell of a picture. Yeah, I think we mentioned this in video one when we talked about the mood and tone of the album. And we talked about getting the idea from listening to this that Crazy was the glue. He was trying to have Crazy glue bars. But he was trying to, you see the leadership in him. Even though Bone Thugs is Lazy's group, the leadership on Lazy's end comes in this fact that he's trying to establish Mo Thugs all over the album. He's hollering Mo Thugs, he's letting you know the label's here, get ready for the next movement. But Crazy is actually anchoring and holding down the group and gelling this album together. And he doesn't even have to say it. It's just in what he does, how he comes in. We think about a song like Let the Law In. Crazy does the hook, he sets it off, and then after everybody does their verses, he comes back to round it out and make it a full song before Flesh comes in. So little things like that, the fact that he does the two solo songs, Neighborhood Slang and Blaze It, lets you know that, you know, he's trying to make this a project. He's really trying to make it expansive. So you hear Crazy's voice and you hear different sides of Crazy's voice. And I mean, there's moments of personality, like he'll, what was it? What's the song where he's like, I think it's all original. And he says, he starts building up his voice. You can hear him get angry in it, and then you can hear him get playful in it. So he'll be like, they saying we bit him into that we ain't never been in your town. And you can hear the little snarl in it. We ain't been in your town, fool. Right? And then at the end, he's like, so many people want to get with the flow, but they can't even handle it. You know, so that's what
he said. Well, he said, niggas want to get the hang. What he said? Yeah, man, he spit some fucking fire though, bro. Like, yeah. I can't remember it at the moment. Momentarily, it slipped me, but he came off. He came off on that. And yeah, I mean, that showcases his personality. He's not outspoken in a way that Wish and Busy seem to be.
Right.
Lately, you know what I'm saying? So, but that's his personality.
Mm-hmm. And he says it, like you said, I think you hit it on the nose, because he'll tell you quick, I'm humble, but I'm still Leatherface, right? I got two sides. Right. But that's deep fan stuff. I'd say, you know, if we're looking at a 5-man group, the personalities exist because they're humans, but you have to look
And the
and
presentation
listen.
of it.
You have to look and listen for the personalities from Flesh, Lazy, and Crazy from the things they're saying. Whereas with Wish and Busy, you'll get it automatically. From the moment they step on the mic, you're gonna get it. So they might be the more charismatic members of the group. And that's something to consider on a scale from 1 to 5. Heartbeats, personality, and charisma. Lil, what you giving this on a scale from 1 to 5 for that? 3.
I give it a 3.
All right. That's a fair number right there. We jumping into dimension 2. It goes hand in hand with this. This is the believability factor or suspension of disbelief. From the cover, there's this idea, and I think this might have done some damage to Bone. This album feels only a little bit like what the cover and all the marketing was trying to present. The Art of War, yeah, you get that feel, but I think it also did a disservice because it made it look costumey. You know, it seemed a little gimmicky, and this is a really serious street album. But then all this medieval war presentation kind of diluted that. And so I don't know if that means you're supposed to suspend your disbelief and be like, oh, I'm going on a fantasy trip. This is war here, because everything they're rapping about is street level war and industry war. And I think, you know, Lil pointed this out in great detail in video 1. So I'm left to assume that this album is Bone telling you this is who we are for real. Don't test us. What you think? You think this is like we're in a character and a theme, or you think this is this is me?
Nah, I believe, to me it was very believable. I think they showed that, and I think is evidenced by the fact that, as we touched on previously, they had so many losses in the street, which also led to another war, which is their internal war, their conflict within themselves, being superstars and paid and being from the hood and struggling, you know, probably didn't even know it at the time, but with mental health, just growing up in those conditions, you know what I'm saying? Going from this to that, that's a conflict within itself.
Yeah.
So all that shit came across pretty believable to me.
Yeah, I don't hear anything on this album that's like fantastic or
nah, they wasn't talking about bazookas. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, yo, I'll blast you with a bazooka from Jupiter. They was on some nigga, tell me to turn my music down again, I'm gonna go and do a bid for you.
Yeah. And what you get, you know, bonus over time, the things they got celebrated for, they started getting flack for. In the beginning, they were really celebrated for being these like thugs with a deep sense of spirituality. Now, you know, I think the later waves, they clown them. They like, make up your mind, you're gonna be making songs about Jesus and then talking about me killer. But that always has existed in their lyrics. You'll hear a lot of that in Busy's verses. I talked about in the first video how he acknowledges some of the rumors that had come out after the last album, where people saying they were devil worshippers or whatever, which is a big part of their conflict with 3 6 Mafia, because 3 6 Mafia caught that same flack too when their Mystic Styles and World Domination, the End albums were out, and they were playing with that 666 stuff. Evil Paradise exemplifies that. And you know, this verse is like Lazy's verse on Hating Nation. He talks about real things where he's like, you know, when I was broken, I didn't have no money. This is how life used to be. Now I got paper and I gotta shake these haters off of me. Friends. So I mean, they're giving you their feelings and conflicts, and especially Busy. Busy will randomly talk about his father, his mother, and I hope my mama loves me because daddy is bye-bye. You know, like in the middle of a battle rap verse where he's going in on other rappers, but he's like still slipping that in. So it sounds pretty clear that this is Who We Are album. So it always comes down to the question of how much do we believe Bone on this album? Do we believe Crazy's going to come out with the 12 gauge, or that Wish is really going to put the beam on?
Yes.
So,
yes.
what is it about them that makes us believe them? Because I mean, we're cheaters because we're Bone fans, so we know the backstories, we know the archival history now. We even know that, you know, Crazy shot Wish when they were younger. But
you seen Half Baked?
yeah,
He goes, I don't know, but I believe him. It's just that, bro. Like, it doesn't seem overly done. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like it's been created by them. It seems more like an experience.
That's deep. Yeah, there's something about it, because I think they balance it with a lot of I don't want to do this.
Right, exactly. Like when you said Busy was like, huh, I guess it's 1999.
Yeah.
Like, well, listen, fuck this Grammy, nigga. Like, that's how they feel to me.
Even though Busy and Wish are more aggressive, Wish always comes from a don't make me do this. And Lazy and Crazy always rap from a, I'm humble and I'm trying to do right, but I will give it to you. Busy is more like, I'm ready at the drop of a hat, but I'll pray for you after I and I'll pray for myself. It's in some of the lines. He's like, I'll go repent afterwards. But he's quicker to be impulsive and then, try to atone for it later, where the other guys are like, please don't make me do it. And you get levels of who will pop off the fastest. I think it goes Busy, Wish, Crazy, Lazy. And then Flesh is waiting in the wings to creep up on you.
Nah, I think it go Flesh, Busy, Wish. Nah, but that's just because I know things.
Right.
But off of the way it sounds, I don't know, because Busy and Wish, they both equally sound volatile to me. Like, they both sound like they're going to smack you with a bottle if you say the wrong thing. So yeah. They tied.
Yeah, and I mean, the history has shown that. So these are all things to consider on a scale from 1 to 5 heartbeats. I think Lil put it very well about how it comes across, and just as an audio piece of work, how they deliver realness. So what you giving this on a scale from 1 to 5?
The believability, I give it a 5.
5, okay. Wow. All right.
Yeah, I think they believe what they were saying, and that was their truth.
And does that make you believe? It's one thing for a rapper to believe what they're saying, but how good are they at making you believe?
Yeah, I believed it, bro. It's 5. Yeah.
All right, that's the job. You know what I mean? You can be fake it and fake, but if you make me believe it, you have done the job well. So, Dimension 3, delivery. Now we get into the nitty gritty here. The delivery has everything to do with the way the group use their voice and their timing. So, it's Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, man. They play their roles. I know Lazy said everyone was picked because of the tones that they have. It could have been a different assortment of dudes, but it's like you got your lower register, you got your deeper voices, you got your higher register, and everybody sounded so comfortable in their pockets where they were at. Like it never felt like Busy was given the you do the high voice. It's like, no, that is like what he does.
Right.
No one told Crazy to do the low voice, Crazy, and he tried. Crazy shows range, you know what I mean? Crazy.
Hey, yo, listen, let it be on record. This may be the first time on international web that somebody states that Crazy Bone is a top 5 MC.
Top 5?
Top, bro. That hey, I stand behind that shit too, bro, because he got bars and range. And if you want to do commercial shit, he got hooks.
Yes.
So
yes. I mean,
I'm a fan and I'm biased, but I stand by that shit because everybody stands by their 5. So he's up there.
Crazy as a musician, a rapper, an artist, and
he's a rapping Michael Jackson, B.
And his interviews are pretty good. I know he's soft-spoken and low-key, but, the stuff he be relaying or his perspective on things, if y'all ever catch the interviews. But, yeah, man, we mentioned in video 1 wanting to get Crazy on there. Crazy, you heard that. Top 5, bro. It'd be an honor
for real, bro. For real, bro.
Yeah, come through, Crazy. So, again, Hate Nation. I'm probably gonna talk about Hate Nation a lot because I think that's my favorite song on the album.
For real? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
What's your favorite?
Damn. All right, we're gonna have to go. The joint with Soulja Boy on it.
Oh,
and
wait.
That shit was crazy. Wasteland Warriors. Yeah, that song is super fire to me.
Crazy will play with his register in so many ways. Crazy was the freest on this album. I mean, it might be a neck and neck race with Crazy and Busy, but the things they allowed themselves to do as at this point being like, I don't even know if they've ever been considered gangster rap, but I feel like at this point in time, this was the C. Dolores Tucker era still, and I think they easily got looped in with
gangster. It was definitely considered gangster rap.
But it's so crazy because what they were doing, it broke all the rules for gangster rap, you know? The melodies, the patterns, how high Busy let his voice go, or even some of the things.
I mean, being like, see, now looking back on it, gangster rap, right? It came out of Cali, right? It came out the West Coast, and it came off of that G-funk music, right? Like, and that music was pretty out there, bro. It was pretty central. You could pretty much do whatever the fuck you wanted with some funky shit.
Nobody was free of it, because with G-funk was all about rapping hard over those smooth beats. I think maybe the smoothest guys would have been people like Dove Shack and Warren G's crew, and maybe DJ Quick. But for the most part, everybody was trying to rap gruff over those funky, breezy beats.
Right, but
Bone was doing the reverse. They were rapping breezy over dark gothic beats.
Yeah, I like the way you put that, breezy.
I'm just, man, you listen to Seventh Sign, it's so playful, even though Busy's saying the most.
That's another fire ass song.
He's saying the most aggressive stuff, but him going, I got you, ooh, like, so this tracks with Busy is downright haunting with his delivery, like Hyundai Live, which is that classic Bone sound that you were hoping to get all on this album, like just kind of letting his sing-songy swing, like you said, carrying, right? The way he made his voice go low there. But then you listen to Seventh Sign and he's playful. Let's get the job. I mentioned everything he did on it. That blow and that I'm talented when I die. You can see with my eyes. Whereas you get his counterpart on there, Majesty. Majesty's doing
some grimy sound and shit.
He's going grimy. Busy's being playful on there. And
some yin and yang.
Crazy does the same thing. He has songs where he's being more aggressive and darker, and then more playful. I think with Wasteland Warriors, even though it's supposed to be a harder track, Crazy is a little bit more playful. He's playing with his higher register on there when he's like, it's not, that's not a flow you're gonna do on a song where you're trying to tear somebody apart. But then when it does,
I feel like, but see, yeah, you're right, correct, but that showcases his range.
Exactly, because the way he went on Let the Law In, that's just raw. I'm ready to tear your head off, Crazy. Like, you really felt what he was saying. He's like, oh, you really don't like the cops. He's like, I'm right in the river, like, he was just, but yeah, I mean, Busy and Crazy are super free all through this. Timing wise though, I mentioned this in video one, it seems like whatever cohesive footing they had as a group, as a quartet or sometimes a quintet, where it was hard to say one is falling behind the other, it becomes easier to see on here. Lazy does this thing with his timing where it sounds like he's trying to catch up to himself. I think it's ironic that Lazy actually rhymes more on this album like members of Crucial Conflict. and I can say that because Crucial Conflict's debut came out 1 year before this album. So that kind of flow that they used on Hey is how Lazy flows on most of this album.
It's type country.
It's the way most rappers would rap if I asked them to rap fast in the 90s. They'd be like, I'm gonna do that. That'll like like instead of Lazy lost some of that tightness in his verse structures. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. The sound definitely. I mean, maybe he did that on purpose.
I don't think so. It sound more like you just
he ran out of bars. He ran out of words.
Or he didn't pay as much attention, or he wasn't as concerned as he was.
Right. He wasn't as focused. Could be
with locking the syllables. Crazy is, and we'll talk about this in the next dimension. When he wants the lines to sound percussive, like a drum roll, he's gonna do that. Like, you're not gonna get that tightness from Lazy. He might start 3 lines like that, and then it's gonna fall apart towards the end. Like it's just, it don't roll off the tongue. If that makes sense.
Nah, I concur. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so Wish, we talked about, he had already kind of, it sounded like Wish gave up on the whole fast rap cohesion. Wish is mostly talking on this album. Talking and singing.
I mean, hey, that lets you know right there. Don't fuck with that nigga, man. He don't want to rap.
Don't you hate on me? Don't you hate on me? You know, it's a lot of repetition. He repeats phrases a lot. And he'll break the flow. He might start in, if Lazy would keep a pattern for about 3 lines, Wish should do it for like 1.5 and then go and do something else. And you know, I mentioned, we already talked about this in video 1, he is off key on a lot of tracks, and he don't care. And fortunately, his verses aren't too long to really bring the song quality down. Like, he doesn't do it too long. But he definitely does not stay in the pitch or the key that he needs to be in to gel with the beats a lot of times. Every time he tries to sing, really. So, and Flesh, I think on this album, if you were not familiar with Flesh, this is the album where you're able to distinguish him from all the other members because you finally really hear his voice. And I think Lil used to point this out to me back in the day. You said Flesh stacks his verses more than everybody else.
Yeah, big time. He always did that a lot. And to me, that would make it more difficult to decipher. And he also rapped very fast. So it'd be like 5 layers of very fast rhymes.
Yeah, his timing, very similar to his brother, Lazy. It wasn't always in pocket either. We're going to talk more about that when we get to the next dimension. So, you know, this is Bone Thugs and Harmony. You're getting harmony. You're getting lots of singing. You're not getting as much harmony as expected because Crazy is carrying most of the hooks on this side.
He's the hook king, so.
Yeah, actually, I'm trying to think of a hook that Busy does or a hook that Lazy does.
I don't know. I'm just about to look it up.
Better not be so quick to test us. That's Flesh.
That's Flesh, yeah. We come to kill you now, kill you now. And Crazy.
They lie. I think Busy's
in that. He's in that one.
His influences on Whom Die They Lie, but Crazy is carrying most of the melodic parts of all these songs. We're talking about the woo in the back of Let the Law In, the lows and the highs. Ooh. I think they're all saying friends hooked together. Friends. But again, it's Crazy filling in the in-betweens. How many of us have them? Like, he's doing all the in-between. All these things are something to consider on a scale from 1 to 5 when we're thinking about the delivery from Bone Thugs and Harmony on this album. Lil, what you giving this for delivery on a scale from 1 to 5 heartbeats?
Damn. Damn, man. All right, I'm gonna be objective here. 2.5.
Yeah, cause why is that?
Because it was like everything you just said. It was inconsistent, and it didn't always gel just like that. Like, I would kind of, man, I was a big ass fan, so I liked it all. But looking back at it, it wasn't as tight. Like the way that they're sonified.
That takes us to Dimension 4, and this is the drum roll moment. Talking about Bone Thugs and Harmony, the flow. It's easy to say, yeah, you were hearing the triplet flow. You're absolutely gonna get the triplet flow on it. That is not all Bone Thugs and Harmony does. Bone Thugs and Harmony does every flow that you can do with fast rap. So I mentioned Lazy having some of those sitting on the backbone, that kind of rush. I'm just throwing a bunch of words out fast rap flow. They did the flow that Twista was doing, not so much where it's just more like, I'm gonna spit it rapid fire, you know, you get that. But I mentioned this percussive thing that Crazy likes to do where he's putting a ton of syllables back to back with no breathing room. And my favorite example of that is what he does on Hated Nation. There I go, talk about Hated Nation again, where he's like, some of the things you never find. Sick of motherfuckers try to see the thuggest fucking, so I bought a must pump, yeah. And to trail that off into a sing song.
What do you see?
Yeah,
that shit is fire, bro. Yo, man, Crazy Bone, top 5, B. Stop playing.
So they
gotta rename this whole episode the Crazy Bone Top 5 MC. Breaking news on CNN and YouTube.
And then just how many flow switch ups they'll have in the verse. You take a verse like Busy's verse on Thug Love, and he says, and everyone can hear clearly, everyone says that he, you know, after Pac's verse, the job is done, really. You know, you stayed because you're a fan of the group, but for most people, the song begins and ends with Busy and Pac's verse, right? And Busy said he went in there trying to impress the world, trying to impress Pac first, himself, and then the world. So the fact, you know, we talk about those delivery choices, him going, oh, well, they gotta be down, they gotta do that. Who thinks of a flow pattern like that, Khalil? If I'm in the studio with you and you come to me with some, I better walk down, I'm like, what? What Alvin and the Chipmunks? But that was one of the hardest.
And that shit worked too.
It was one of the hardest choices. And then he did some real MC stuff in the middle of that, where he's like, quick to test to the best of these, follow my steps, but don't test these, follow my steps, my secrets. Or the fact that he does a stop.
And then he went to that crazy shit. Throw it up on Cleveland.
Like, the way he ended it, that's that machine gun.
Shit, yeah, that shit was crazy.
But he does those stop and start things in the middle where he's like, put a nigga with Bob, put the nigga, it's on. Wanna raise in the top, pop, wanna raise in the top.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire.
I mean, the choices made. There's no flow pattern that Busy keeps throughout that entire verse for too long. He hits you with like 10 different flow patterns in one verse.
And that's why it's always entertaining. When you listen to him on that shit, it's always entertaining.
Always. And no one is doing that in rap. No one was doing that in that era. I think it's easier for rappers now because they were raised on things like Bone, and it's kind of second nature. All the rappers that grew up with the triplet flow now, it's been over 25 years. And then, you know, Migos brought it back into play. It's been more than 10 years now. So there's a whole generation of rappers who grew up only hearing fast rap. I remember us being perplexed and fascinated and obsessed with this stuff when it came out, because Bone introduced it to a lot of regions. And it was just like, what is this? How do you understand what they're saying? How do you keep up? You hear it now and it's like, oh yeah, he's saying this, that in the middle. But those choices, man, they are pioneers to a T, and they were very free. So this album becomes a neck and neck race to hear how many different flow patterns Busy and Crazy pack into their verses. Lazy is more prone to keep the same flow per verse. He might switch it up just to sing. He breaks his flow patterns up to sing. When I was in the top, and when the cat is running down, dirty, love that motherfucking shame, you know. But he's not machine gunning it like that. And on this album, we also have to acknowledge that Bone was making a conscious effort to go back to their roots and have more songs where they're just rapping straightforward. You mentioned this in video 1 where Crazy starts off the song saying, what if I slowed it down? Will you understand me now? So there's more straight rapping on this album. And you'll hear it like the way Lazy Bone comes in on You ain't bone. He's like, you's a beat writer, own style taker. Yeah, he's not really trying to go fast on, half of his verses.
But then when he does try to go fast, he goes, "You niggas ain't bone. You close your phones. You niggas don't know about the consequence."
Yeah,
like
it's that. But that sound like Crucial Conflict, right? They niggas don't know about the consequence. That's me. It's a bouncy. He's bouncing. That's the best way to describe Lazy's flow.
Absolutely.
For most of this album. Now, Flesh tries to rap like raindrops. You were talking about his stacking gets in the way of being able to follow him, and you said he raps fast. I don't really know if, in terms of speed, Flesh raps faster than Crazy or Busy. Those are your speed rappers in the group. What Flesh does, he staccato pitter patters his thing. So when you think about his verse on All Original, he's like, the problem with Flesh's flow is that his words rarely rhyme. He's just spitting. He just wrote his verse and recited it. He didn't take the time to make them land in any particular rhyming points. So he's like, pick a nigga to flip a nigga, never face a pepper. It's an ongoing, nonstop, and it's not always on beat because it doesn't have those landing points. You need rhyming words to make things fall like where they're supposed to.
Yeah, have a start and an end.
Yeah, there you go. Have a start and an end. I always can depend on you to say things a lot easier than I do. I make things complicated, but that's what Flesh does. He makes his verses overly complicated. His voice, his tone is pleasing, but again, I do think, like you said, the stacking gets in the way, and the fact that you realize he tends to also have long verses. I guess because they're like, all right, make some space for Flesh. We haven't heard him in a while, so he's
home.
Yeah, on All Original, he has a long verse. On Let the Law In, he has a long verse, but he's not riding, right? Oh man, we talk about flow patterns. Busy's pattern on Let the Law In. Busy's going to Mexico. Like, what?
He said that? I don't remember that.
Yeah, because they talk about fleeing the law and stuff. So I mean,
okay. I gotta hear that shit again.
But you remember that pattern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, so again, you're shining stars of flow, and thankfully we have two of them, because if it was all on Crazy's back, then this album would start to seem like it's weak. But Busy's never gonna let you down with flow in his prime 1990s incarnation. That's evident on this album. Would love to hear what y'all all think about the flow patterns displayed on a Bone Thugs and Harmony album on a scale from 1 to 5 heartbeats. Lil, what you giving this on a scale from 1 to 5 for flow?
I give it a solid 4. A solid 4, and you lucky I don't give it a 5 because I want to fight people.
What's keeping it from being a 5?
The fact that they could have had a little bit more just straight, like they could have rounded it out with more straight rap, right? But then that wouldn't be Bone Thugs,
right?
You know what I'm saying? So that's all. I give it a 4.5. How about that? As far as flow, 4.5. Yeah, 4.5 because there was some parts I didn't really understand. A couple, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A couple of parts that wasn't really audible to me, but 4.5 is pretty fucking solid.
Yeah, very solid. All right, that takes us to dimension 5, wordplay. It's gonna be BYO. It's gonna be DYO.
Bring your own words, bro. Bring your own words.
It's gonna be DYOR. Do your own research, because there are not many reliable sites that have the Bone lyrics accurately. It'd be great to have Bone members on the show to see if they even remember their lyrics, because they've got
yeah, they do
projects, and that's a lot of words per minute.
They're professionals, bro.
It's a lot of words per minute you're getting. As far as wordplay on this album, there's levels.
Yeah.
Which is gonna give you direct talk, meaning that there's no abstraction, there's no bending of imagery. He's just gonna tell you, we was broke and we was hungry. That's it. He's not gonna find a clever way to tell you they were hungry. Like, he was hungry.
Yeah, you silly, bro.
Your next level is Lazy. Lazy is pretty straightforward too. You know, he says some clever things on You Ain't Bone, where he's like, you know, had I killed one of yours, then none of you would be relevant anymore. Another form of wordplay is where Lazy, more than anyone else out the group, will use the name of rap rivals in his verses in you know, pretty basic, clever ways, I'll say. But he's calling them out. The rap acts at the time that Bone considered to be clones, he's using their names in certain verses. So you'll hear him say something like, I do or die. He mentions Crucial in a certain way and says the word twist. Y'all got it twisted up or something. Some of those might be reaches, but the do or die one definitely. But for the most part, there's no extra thought required to understand where Lazy's going with stuff. Now we jump to Flesh. I think Flesh is in the middle because he's at least trying to take it somewhere with imagery. Flesh is going to talk about corpses and the way the bullet sound and the way the blood drips. You know, he gets poetic with his descriptions. But of course, at the very top is again Crazy and Busy with wordplay. And Crazy is going to give you those moments where he's going to describe how he's going to get you. And Busy's going to give you those moments. Not a lot of witty things, more imagery. And, you know, the guests fill everything else out. Majesty on this album is giving you the most wordplay. You mentioned a video when you talking about getting tattooed. Are you talking about the line where he was like...
Artistic skin abrasions, throwing up worldly reflections of elevation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sign.
He was going out his way to make all kinds of verbal pictures. He was talking about 365 degrees and you know.
I revolve around trees. There'll be record companies. Some crazy shit.
He reminds me another breakout artist that's around that same time, Holocaust, who came out from RZA's camp on the Bobby Digital album and had that same kind of has to be a bastard's masterpiece, like that kind of. They almost rap like anime characters. That's back in the day where that kind of rap was pretty fashionable. So when Cannabis was out, I think for a moment even I was trying to rap like that. Elementally coming with the bionic, you know. But it was a good balance against Busy, who was just kind of going all over the place. But Busy is more liable to give you pop culture references and comparative talk. So is Crazy Bone. And that's about the extent of wordplay. You're not getting a lot of similes. You're not getting alliteration.
No.
Maybe from Crazy. Crazy might hit you with the same consonant sound. Wish is going to give you the onomatopoeia. He's going to be blow with boom. You know, he might hit you with a boom and a...
That's about it. They don't really get much of them.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of onomatopoeia from Bone now that I think about it. Because dump, dump, dump. Boom, boom, boom. And so onomatopoeia is their thing, if nothing else, for wordplay. So all of that's something to consider. If y'all think of more wordplay examples that y'all did pick up, or my rap analysts out there who really have dissected these lyrics, let us know. Something to consider on a scale from 1 to 5 heartbeats. Lil, what you giving us for wordplay?
I give it a 1, man. It's a solid 1. They put words on the album.
Yeah. Bone definitely...
That's not their thing.
That's not their thing. Which takes us to Dimension 6. Punchlines or poetic wisdom, the overall quotability. How quotable is this album? And is it from the punchlines or the poetic wisdom? Where is it coming from? Punchlines you're not getting.
0.
Not even from the rest.
Yeah, I didn't really hear any punchlines like that.
Yeah,
poetic wisdom, I mean... Wish is pretty poetic.
Wish is poetic.
Yeah, he's poetic.
Give me a song where Wish got poetic.
When he set the whole song and he tell the nigga in a very poetic way, stop hating on me, focus on yourself. You might make something of yourself. That's poetic.
Poetic wisdom is all throughout the album in its spaces. So some of the things they say about friends on the track, how many of us have them? It's poetic. I think Wish and Crazy really anchored the song Evil Paradise. And Crazy was really trying to bring some real philosophical conversation into that song. Like, picture, have you thought about when you're gonna die? Are you prepared for it? But it's those moments like what I said, Seven Sign with Busy's saying, I take off my shirt and I come alive. I'm talented when I die. You can see what's deep in my eyes. Like, he's trying to give you these are me moments. I'm free. That's one thing about Bone. They're not rapping in normal ways. They're not saying I'm the best on the mic and you're a whack MC. They're not saying, I mean, Lazy said it on the Beat Biter where he's using the MC Light line. Shout out to MC Light. But for the most part, they're like, you clones. They made up their own term for people, Haitians. Instead of calling people just haters, they're like, you're a player Haitian.
Right.
Which
they consider like a whole sect, a whole sector of people. You know what I mean? This is the hating nation. These are the people that don't like us.
It used to bug me out calling it player Haitian. Sac passe to all the Haitian viewers out there. But yeah, they are no strangers to making up their own terms for stuff, but it works. The word choices. So again, Busy on Whom Da They Lie says, I'm ready for the gun to go get him, and I'll fill him with 11 of mine and one die if he's ready to lie. If I decide, looking at my killings in his eyes, and boom, go to buy. I'm gonna fly. Whom Da They Lie. Like, what? All that to say, I'm gonna take you off this earth. Poetic language is where they're gonna shine. We talked about Flesh's use of poetic imagery and how detailed he gets with it, the spiritual aspects of what Bone raps about and how they rap. Something to consider on a scale from 1 to 5 heartbeats. Lil, what you're giving is for quotability.
1. Give it a 1. Give it a 1. It doesn't really have that many quotable moments, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when I think about the moments that you did quote when we were younger, it was the talking parts, the personality, charisma part. So, all right, Dimension 7, the concepts. Are there any concepts on this album? I say yes. I say Evil Paradise. I keep mentioning it. It sounded like they were trying to take you somewhere into thinking about when you die, or have you even thought about when you're gonna die, or the fact that you're gonna die living this worldly life.
Yeah, that was a conceptual song. Friends was a conceptual song. Not Friends, excuse me. That Mo Thug Family Tree was a conceptual song.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, because it's like these are the branches of our tree. Let me introduce you to everybody, and it would play off of the song, the original version of the song on the first side, which was just the core members. So that's a loose concept, and then you add Evil Paradise, which is a more straightforward concept. I just don't know how well they executed it. It's a hard song to follow, just listening, because Crazy singing and he's making different points, and Wish goes somewhere else, and Lazy is more your straight man on that song. Just kind of talking about like money and making it in the game. I think that's about as conceptual as it gets. We talked about the idea that them making up a whole term for a whole set of people, right? Hating Nation, but that just boils down to a track about haters. So I don't know how conceptual that is. I don't know what Whom Da They Lie is about. Do you?
Nah.
I just like how it sounds. Whom Da They Lie is my second favorite. So it's Hating Nation, Whom Da They Lie, and Thug Love, of course. All right, so I mean, these are all things for y'all to consider when you're thinking about what conceptual territory this album went into and how good of a job Bone did pulling it off. So on a scale from 1 to 5 heartbeats, what are you giving this on concepts and conceptual material?
2.
2. All right.
Yeah.
Takes us into content. These are dimensions 8, the externalized content. How much we're Bone talking about outside issues that affect more people than just them personally and just are outside of their core world. Internal content, dimension 9, is about their feelings, their inner feelings. So a lot of that stuff that I said that Busy was doing, that's his stuff. We know what we know, and the day your brother zapped me, and it's your auntie's baby daddy in Cincinnati. Why the white bee have me if I'm gonna be out here robbing? Like, what? Busy has a lot of those moments where in the middle of just talking about whatever, he's gonna give you glimpses of his life. Busy is not shy about talking about his life. Him talking about his family and his upbringing and his, dysfunction. That's a Busy internal thing coming outward. Think about a track like Let the Law In. That's talking about an external thing. That's externalized content. That's a general commentary on the police and their feelings towards the cops and what the cops do. And I'd be as bold to say that they were making that song speak on behalf of all dudes in the hood who think the way that they thought at those ages. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Busy will, in the Hated Nation, he's saying stuff like, what about healthcare and welfare? He's making a statement on some stuff. And then there's no songs about women on here. And I think you mentioned in video one, they don't make any homie dedication songs. I guess you might consider Mo Thug Family Tree a homie dedication and maybe Friends.
Yeah.
So Let the Law In is about the police. Blaze It is the weed anthem. So that's topical. That's externalized content. And it's very clear that Crazy is talking on behalf of all people who enjoy that act, because he says, if reefer really makes you happy, better blaze it, right? So he's speaking for all weed heads, which Bone always does. Their songs, they want it to be anthems for people who love marijuana. They're not just rapping about how much they love it. It's bud smokers only. It's,
Buddha lovers. Like, they're trying to speak for the marijuana population. And then Friends is in the middle of Dimension 8 and 9. It's coming from their personal experiences, but they're making, again, a general commentary on how long do friendships last? How solid are they? Where are the people at for you when the chips are down? Which I always give rappers credit for. If you're able to take something personal and make me care about it, then you're doing the work of an artist, right? Listening to somebody's life, it's like, why should I listen to this? And I think they do that. And of course, we got Evil Paradise, which we keep talking about, which is general content. So they have a fair amount of external content where they're talking about topics, things. It's not a complete clone war. Most of the songs are about taking it to the clones, but they have those other songs to try to tip the scales. And I think they do decent here. So for both of these dimensions, what are you giving each one? For the external content on a scale from 1 to 5, and for the internal content on a scale from 1 to 5? I give it a 2 both ways.
Okay, that's fair. That takes us to the final dimension, the storytelling. Is there any storytelling on this album, Lil?
No. There's ain't no storytelling on here, bro.
Yeah. I hate to compare albums, but there's no way that I will not bring this song up. There's no
Down 71.
Getaway. Yep, there's none of that. Yeah, we don't have anything. The closest you might get is Friends, where they're recalling the hard times,
the childhood and shit. Yeah,
but it's not in a narration format like, here's what I did, and then I did this, and this is that, and point A to Z. You're just getting these anecdotes, these little snapshots of their individual lives. So yeah, that's the extent. No storytelling here. It's up to y'all if you consider that a weakness or it has no effect at all. Some people really believe you need a story to make an album. Keep in mind, this is a double album. This is only one side. I don't think they have any stories on side one either. But this is how we rounding it out. Lil, what you giving them on a scale from 1 to 5 with storytelling? 5 means it had no effect at all, and 1.
It had no effect.
So
it had no effect. They didn't have any stories, but that didn't affect the album, in my opinion.
So 4 or 5 or something lower?
I'll give it a 3.
Okay.
No. I mean, so you're basing storytelling on whether it affected the album, not whether the stories were good or whether they had stories?
Right. Is it an album where you feel like, oh, they could have used one story? Like picture Life After Death without.
Yeah, they definitely could have used a story. I agree.
Yeah.
They could have used a dope story. Yeah, I'll give it a 0.
A 0? You wild.
They didn't have any stories and they needed one.
So it hurt the album that bad.
If it's brought up in conversation, yeah.
Now, this is only within the context of if it really affected the album.
It'd be really hard for me to judge that, and in a way, they didn't have any stories for me to say to give them a high grade on storytelling.
Yeah, but the lack thereof is gradable.
Right.
Yeah.
2.
2. Okay.
Let's just give them a 2.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think again, if we could replace one of those Crazy Bone solos, or
no.
So if Neighborhood Slang was a story, imagine that. Imagine if Neighborhood Slang was a story.
Yeah, but it ain't.
So that concludes breakdown and review of Side 2, World War II of the classic Art of War by Bone Thugs and Harmony from 2 Bone fans. We just did the unthinkable, trying to dissect flow and delivery patterns of one of the hardest groups to tag in rap history, and we attempted it. Love to hear your feedback in the comments. Lil, can you let them know where to find you? Let them know what you're rocking.
I got the music on deck. I got the beats on deck. That's about to take off. I got these P hats, you know what I'm saying? They stand for whatever you want to stand for. For me, it stands for power, it stands for purpose, it stands for pussy. It stands for whatever you want. I'm also customize it for you, you know what I'm saying? It's pretty fat with a P. And that's me, you know what I mean? I'm still here.
Anybody who's trying to reach out to you for beats, what's the best way to do that? Do they just hit you up and say, I need beats, or should they be talking money?
Just holler at me, man. Art is art, music is music. We gonna get money if we gonna get money.
There we go.
Money's gonna come.
There we go. Appreciate you doing this. Appreciate having you here. And we made this happen, bro. Homie for life, man.
All right, bro.
All right, until next time, y'all know what it is. F a Rap Critic. Talk about it while I live it. Word to meth. Peace.